Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Tube. It is Phoenix coming to you live. If you like this content, consider hitting that like button. Let's get into talking about everything in crypto, EOS. And before we start, like I said, hit the like button. Consider a comment. Every little bit helps to grow this channel. My goal is to get this up to 1,000 subscribers. So I think right now I'm up to about 700. We'll see how far we can get. Maybe get up to 1,000, hopefully. So we've heard recent news about a crypto purge occurring in the space. The likes of Omar Bam, Ivan on Tech, Sunny Decree, and others, the Crypto Lark, having their content deleted, removed in many cases, and no real reasoning given as to why now, other than it was a content violation, and it might have been flagged by members of the community itself. So we'll have to find out a little bit more about this, but it does beg the question about the power and centralization of a lot of these platforms. The fact that they have so much influence in the crypto space that probably, arguably, 80 to 90% of most crypto consumption occurs on YouTube, I would argue. In addition to Telegram, and Twitter's big too, but YouTube is, let's not get it twisted, YouTube is an important component in the crypto space. So by shutting something down like YouTube, it's dealing a huge blow, I think, to the entire crypto community. And so as the crypto community, what I mean by that is all the communities that make up crypto, Bitcoin, whether you're EOS, Tron, Ethereum, etc., whatever tribe you're a part of, or some people are part of multiple tribes, it's really a call to unite as a community, as a family. And shout out to my family if you're checking this out. Shout out to my crypto family as well. Cryptotype, Rezi, Apologist, Crypto Fees, Zach Gall, everything EOS, Rob, all the homies. Thanks for checking this out. But, you know, it's really, I think, up to us as a community and those even outside of the EOS community, like I mentioned, to unite together and really stick up for each other and continue to make content and speak out about these things, because that's the only way we're going to push the needle in our favor. And this is an information war. Let's not get it twisted. A lot of this stuff is, let's face it, psychological warfare. And a lot of you probably say I'm being a tinfoil hat guy when I say that, but a lot of things in life are actually, most of it, 90% of what is in life is a mental game, a mental war. Sometimes a mental war on yourself in terms of your belief in yourself, right? To overcome things, to overcome challenges, to grow as an individual. But a lot of it is also what the mainstream paints for a certain topic. It can have a certain narrative that oftentimes isn't actually reality. Now it's up to us to be educated and to have the courage as well, and to, I guess, have enough motivation to question those things, right? Because people are going to offer a certain narrative, and it's up to you to determine if you're going to accept the narrative in the story or not. And so crypto is no different than that. Right now what we're seeing is a bunch of people actually are trying to control the narrative in different ways. You're seeing some narratives about the need for regulation, for example. You're seeing the need for the narrative on the fact that some people believe that crypto is a scam, and people tying in and latching into that. And why would that be important? What motivation would there be for people to believe that crypto is a scam? Let's just look at that. I'm not saying one way or the other, because there are some crypto projects that are scams, but I would say the vast majority of anything has scams in it. So that argument is pretty weak in my book. But let's look at why someone would benefit from saying crypto is a scam. One of the main benefits is the alternative, the opportunity costs, right? Opportunities, alternatives that are threatened by something like cryptocurrency. Namely, 401ks, pensions, and houses, I would argue. Because a lot of people today buy these assets because why? They want to have security. They want to have financial security. They want to be able to retire. I didn't say be rich, right? It's not about being rich. It's about having the ability to have independence in some way. And so when a different asset class comes and potentially provides a good argument that as investors, as retirees, it makes sense to put in 10% of their portfolios in this new asset class, that's going to present a huge threat to the system, especially those that may not necessarily have the right technology or understanding of how this stuff works. And you could have a different technology that benefits from that. So I think you're always going to see that type of a narrative. I'm not saying that's the case here, but it's just something to be aware of, that over the course of the next few years, there's probably a high probability of that not only occurring, but also actually increasing over time, just because of the nature, the network effects of a technology like this. And it can also have detrimental effects into people who have bought into that system today. So if you look at something like housing, if you look at something like the 401k, if you look at something like pensions, none of that actually works without more people investing in it. And especially when you consider that a lot of the wealth that is trapped in those assets is owned by boomers. And what do we know about boomers, guys? I'm not saying anything about boomers. I'm just talking facts here, okay? This is just straight up facts. Boomers, whether they like it or not, they're looking to retire. And what happens when you retire? You have to sell your assets. Well, if you have all this downward pressure on assets in, let's say, a 401k fund, and everybody's investing that same couple 401k funds, and it's just automated investing, and then you have a huge group of people that sell their assets, and you don't have any buyers, any demand. There's no buyers, there's no millennials who want those assets because they consider them scams, or it's just not even attractive to them. And they're after something that is more transparent, more auditable, more real, more community driven, and more from the heart. Those assets go to zero or they drop dramatically. And for a lot of the establishment, a lot of the companies, a lot of the media companies who benefit from kickbacks and payments on advertisements, and it's all intertwined, do you see? So when all that starts to collapse, basically a pyramid scheme, and you have this new system that's being built, you don't think there's going to be a fight for who now controls that power? And I think you're seeing some of that. I don't think this YouTube purge is actually one of them, but I guess what I'm trying to communicate, I guess just straight from the heart and from the community's perspective, is we got to be ready for these battles, because if you think this is going to be the only battle, you better brace yourself, because this is probably like a little mini warm-up. What I see is a much bigger battle. And so it goes beyond even, it goes beyond the crypto markets, right? It goes into how we as a generation in particular, as people who are into the crypto space, whatever your age is. When I say generation, I'm saying like more of a mindset, a generational mindset of people, a smaller group of people. But what it means is to do things actually of the opposite. And it goes even beyond crypto. If you're stacking, listen, like for me, not investment advice, but what I'm doing, I'm going to be stacking even more sats for my family and for my legacy. And I'm going to start looking at ways to minimize my dependency on the central systems themselves. Looking at land here in Arizona. Yes, it's a desert, but you know what? Got to start looking at